Hello, hello, greetings and salutations. My name is Charlie Magloire, and I will be your moderator for this presentation. This is going to be our final presentation for the semester, so I hope I make it worth your while, that it's informative as well as entertaining. Um, as I said before, my name is Charlie Magloire. I am in my senior year at Florida International University. I graduate next term, hopefully. And based off of my tenure in this course, as well as the reading material that I have read, I feel that I am well versed to speak on the CSI effect and its influence on jurors. I will catch you in the next slide for more details and information. Stay tuned. Welcome, welcome, welcome to slide number 3, where we will be discussing my results and opinions. So, it is my objective opinion to side with the defense attorney's stance that the CSI effect will make jurors less skeptical of forensic experts. Now, based off of the journal articles that I have read, as well as some research I have done into the topic, I believe that when it comes to viewers of police procedural shows such as CSI, Law and Order, and all of the shows alike, that this would make the jurors privy to forensic evidence and testimonies given in court. Now, it is also in my humble opinion, not humble, I'm sorry, my objective opinion, that due to their avid viewing of these police procedural shows, that these will make them less skeptical, because oftentimes when it comes to these police procedural shows, they use paid consultants, whether it be legal consultants for the law portion of the show, whether it be forensic consultants for the CSI portion of the show, or whether it would be detectives for the other portions of the show. These are all paid consultants who give their input to make the show more real. Now, oftentimes, when it comes to trial, people like such as myself, I myself am a fan of Law and Order SVU. I'm an avid watcher. I've watched several seasons and countless of episodes. I've even rewatched some of my favorite episodes. So I was also myself called in to be a part of a jury for a court case, and due to my watching of the show, I had already have some basic understanding, of forensics and how they work in court cases. So me using myself as an example can relate to the next juror. They will also be privy to forensic explanations, testimonies given by experts, and thus with this knowledge and background, they will be less skeptical because they're already familiar. So with that being said, an example would be if I'm called in to sit on a murder case. There are going to be DNA evidence. There's going to be blood. There's probably going to be fingerprints. If there's a murder weapon, there's going to be, forensic evidence. So given my knowledge and given my understanding of police procedural shows, when it comes to forensics, I will be more attentive to the expert's testimony, not so much expecting like a super expert, because sometimes these shows do oftentimes give a glamorized or a fictionalized portrayal of how forensics actually work. Now, when it comes to that, there may be a little bit of a gray area, because some people might be more expectant of a forensic expert more than his or her expertise actually allows. So what does that mean? Essentially, it means that because I am an avid watcher of CSI Miami, I might have more expectations of this forensic expert, which might be, beyond his scope of experience or his profession. Like, I'm expecting like a super forensic expert, and I'm clinging on to the knowledge from these shows, and I'm putting those expectations on this forensic expert. And based off of that, some prosecutors believe that based off of this expectations, it will be harder for them to convict. However, the stance that I chose, based off of my own knowledge of forensic based off the television show. I may have a leg up because I am in criminal justice courses, so I know a little bit more than watching on television. But we're going to put that to the side. Right now, we're focusing on just the television aspect. So, with that being said, I do believe that these expectations are fictitious, and that the generalized expectation of the forensic expert's testimony is reasonable based off of the case. So we're going to discuss this more in slide number 4. See you there. Hello. Welcome to slide number 4, where we are still going over our results and opinions continued. Now, over here, we have a chart which was provided by the National Institute of Justice Journal, which was one of my sources. And the general consensus was there were juries who were polled post-trial, and the general consensus of this study was to show whether or not the CSI effect had a large demographic of jurors who were expectant of the forensic expert. Now, the outcome of this research basically showed that not a lot of jurors were expectant of forensic evidence in these court cases. There are certain court cases in which the evidence was expected. For example, the case of rape. DNA evidence is always collected in a rape kit or at a crime scene or in a hospital from the victim in order to match DNA against the perpetrator. Now, in this instance, DNA was required. However, it is expectant, and I believe that it is reasonable to expect DNA from this sort of court case because of the nature of the case. Now, any other court case, depending on its nature, may not necessarily require DNA evidence. So with that being said, the findings of the court case, as I mentioned before, showcased that the jurors who were avid watchers of these police procedural shows, they did not require forensic evidence nor testimony in order to render a verdict of guilty or not guilty. So this actually contradicts the prosecutor's fears about the CSI effect, because the findings showed that they didn't necessarily need it in order to convict or acquit. Whereas the prosecutors feel that because of the CSI effect, that the jurors are more expectant of these of these forensic experts' testimonies, and thus they are unable to render a guilty verdict due to the CSI effect. But this study actually showcases that it's in favor more so of the prosecutor's argument, because they are less skeptical, because they have a preconceived idea of the way DNA works, which actually blew my mind during the study, because the fact that these jurors did not necessarily need DNA evidence was proof enough that they understand the way this procedure works. Oftentimes DNA evidence is not required for a trial in order to convict. Witness testimonies, the victim's testimony, sometimes that's enough. And, oftentimes when it's a rape case, depending on the perpetrator, they might have used something to prevent DNA from being, attained during the commission of the crime, but that's neither here nor there. In any case, there were several different studies that were conducted. For example, there was another study conducted in Australia and Canada for the same CSI effect. And once again, there was another finding that showcased that having been an avid watcher of the police procedural shows, a lot of jurors showcased that they were not influenced by their viewing choices in their court case as a juror. So I believe that, I wouldn't say that it's a phantom concern for the prosecutors, but I believe that, it might be a little bit exaggerated due to the countless and numerous of studies that were conducted on the CSI effect. Some researchers are questioning if this CSI effect even exists. So I believe that I was able to prove my point, and there are bullet points on this side that further explain the research, the findings, and you guys can go ahead and look at it for yourself. I hope it's as informative to you as it was to me, and I was actually very surprised by the findings. Welcome to our last and final slide. I tried to make it short, sweet, and to the point. I didn't want to use too much filler. I didn't want to use too much, slides. I didn't want to make it extensive and boring. So I do hope that my short, sweet, and to the point slideshow was informative as well as interesting. I hope it provided some clarity, some insight. You learned something new, and that it was understandable for, the viewers. With that being said, this is going to be our last oral presentation for the semester. Hate to see you go, but all good things must come to an end. So I hope that you enjoyed this short and sweet and concise, to the point presentation, and that it offered you some information. It certainly did for me. It was very informative. It was very fun to research, and I learned a lot. Surprised by some of my findings, but I'm glad that I was able to prove my point, which was on the side of the defense attorneys. So, with that being said, I bid you an adieu. Thank you.